Yes, it worked.
It works now. Okay,
Yes. Thank you,
fantastic.
Hare Krishna.
Fantastic. Hare Krishna. So today we have Gata Mataji that's going to read the English, and Krishnavani Mataji, you are doing the Sanskrit. So
Yes,
let me
Prabhu.
bring the
Can
verses
you
up.
hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, let me bring the verses up, and then
Okay.
I can also
Can't
show
bring my
that too.
videos.
Yeah, you can show your video. It'd be nice to see you.
I don't know. It gone. I can't get in. So.
Okay, not to worry. So you can say the invocation, Krishnavani Mataji, and you can start, and Geta Mataji, I think you are also ready, so we can proceed.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 13. Nature, the Enjoyer and Consciousness. Text 1 and 2. Arjuna Uvacha Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Kshetram Kshetragyam Cha Etad Veditum Ichhami Jnanam Gyayam Cha Keshava. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam Sariram Kaunteya Kshetram Itvidiyate Etadyo Veti Tam Prahu Kshetragya iti tadvidi.
Arjuna said, O my dear Krishna, I wish to know about Prakriti, nature, Purusha, the enjoyer, and the fields and the knower of the fields, and of knowledge and the object of knowledge. Supreme Personality of Godhead said, this body, O son of Kunti, is called the field, and one who knows this body is called the knower of the fields.
Text 3. Kshetragyam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata kshetragyo jnanam yat jnanam matam mama.
Ocean of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower of all bodies, and to understand this body and its knower is called knowledge. That is my opinion.
Text 4. Tata kshetram yach yadruk cha yadvikari yat shachyat sachayo yat prabhavasya tata samasena me shrunu.
Now please hear my brief description of this field of activity and how it is constituted, what its changes are, whence it is produced, who that knower of the field of activities is, and what his influences are.
Text 5. Rushibir bahudha gitam chando vividai pruthuk brahma sutra padaishchaiva hetu madi vinishchati.
That knowledge of the field of activities and of the knower of activities is described by various sages in various Vedic writings. It is especially presented in Vedanta Sutra with all reasoning as to cause and effect.
Text 6 and 7. Mahabhutanyahankaro buddhir vyaktameva cha indriyani दशैकं च पञ्चम पञ्चचेन्द्रियगोचरा इच्छा द्वेष सुखं दुःखं षड्घातश्चेतना धृतिः एतत् क्षेत्रं समासेन सविकारमुदाहृतम्.
The five great elements, false ego, intelligence, the unmanifested, the 10 senses, and the mind, the 5 sense objects, desire, hatred, happiness, distress, the aggregate, the life symptoms, and convictions, all these are considered in summary to be the field of activities and its interactions.
Text 8 to 12. अमानित्वम् अदम्भित्वम् अहिंसा क्षान्तिरार्जवम् आचार्योपासनं शौचं स्थैर्यम् आत्मनिविग्रह इन्द्रियार्थेषु वैराग्यम् अहङ्कार एव च जन्म मृत्यु जरा व्याधि दुःखदोषानुदर्शनम् असक्तिरनभिष्वङ्ग पुत्रदारगृहादिषु नित्यं च समचित्तत्वम् इष्टानिष्टोपपत्तिषु मयि चानन्ययोगेन भक्तिर्व्यभिचारिणी विविक्तदेशसेवित्वम् अरतिर्जनसंसदि अध्यात्मज्ञाननित्यत्वं तत्त्वज्ञानार्थदर्शनम् एतज्ज्ञानमिति प्रोक्तं ज्ञानं यदतो अन्यथा.
Humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of the evil of birth, death, old age, and disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement with children, wife, home, and the rest, even-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self-realization and philosophical search for the absolute truth. All these I declare to be knowledge, and besides this, whatever there may be is ignorance.
Text 13. ज्ञेयं यत् प्रवक्ष्यामि यज्जात्वा मृतं मश्नुते अनादिमत्परं ब्रह्म न सत्ता न सुदुच्यते.
I shall now explain the knowable, knowing which you will taste the eternal. Brahman, the spirit, beginningless and subordinate to me, lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world.
Text 14. सर्वतः पाणिपातं तत् सर्वतो क्षिशिरोमुखं सर्वतः श्रुतिमल्लोके सर्वमावृत्य तिष्ठति.
Everywhere are his hands and legs, his eyes, heads and faces, and he has ears everywhere. In this way the supersoul exists, pervading everything.
Text 15. सर्वेन्द्रियगुणापासं सर्वेन्द्रियविवर्जितं अशक्तं सर्वभूतैव निर्गुणं गुणभोक्तृ च.
The Supersoul is the original source of all senses, yet he is without senses. He is unattached, although he is the maintainer of all living beings. He transcends the modes of nature, and at the same time he is the master of all the modes of material nature.
F16. बहिरन्तश्च भूतानाम् अचरं चरमेव च सूक्ष्मत्वादविज्ञेयं दूरस्थं चान्तिके च तत्.
The Supreme Truth exists outside and inside of all living beings, the moving and the non-moving. Because he is subtle, he is beyond the power of the material senses to see or to know. Although far, far away, he is also near to all.
Text 17. अविभक्तं च भूतेषु विभक्तमिव च स्थितं भूतर्भर्तृ च तज्ज्ञेयं ग्रीष्मेणु प्रभविष्णु च.
Although the Supersoul appears to be divided amongst all beings, he is never divided. He is situated as one. Although he is the maintainer of every living entity, it is to be understood that he devours and develops all.
Text 18. ज्योतिषामपि तज्ज्योतिष् तमसा परमुच्यते ज्ञानं ज्ञेयं ज्ञानगम्यं हृदि सर्वस्य विशिष्टितम्.
He is the source of light and all luminous objects. He is beyond the darkness of matter and is unmanifested. He is knowledge. He is the object of knowledge, and he is the goal of knowledge. He is situated in everyone's heart.
Text 19. इति क्षेत्रं तथा ज्ञानं ज्ञेयं चोक्तं समासतः मद्भक्त एतद्विज्ञाय मद्भावायोपपद्यते.
Thus the field of activities, the body, knowledge and the knowable have been summarily described by me. Only my devotees can understand this thoroughly and thus attain to my nature.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Krishnavani Mataji and Geta Mataji, for that wonderful recitation. It's very nice.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So today we will progress in our discussion for text number 19. So we'll say the invocation prayers first. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmalitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namah Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachadeshatarine. So text number 19. Beautiful verse. Iti shetram tata jnanam gyayam choktam samasataha madbhakta etat vignaya madbhavayo papadyate. Thus the field of activities, the body, knowledge, and the knowable have been summarily described by me. Only my devotees can understand this thoroughly and thus attain to my nature. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. So what I'll do is I'll discuss, read part of the purport, have some discussion, and then we'll read the other aspect of the purport, and we shall have further discussion. So purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Lord has described in summary the body, knowledge, and the knowable. This knowledge is of three things: the knower, the knowable, and the process of knowing. Combined, these are called Vijnana, or the science of knowledge. Perfect knowledge can be understood by the unalloyed devotees of the Lord directly. Others are unable to understand. The monas say that at the ultimate stage, these three items become one, but the devotees do not accept this. Knowledge and development of knowledge mean understanding oneself in Krishna consciousness. We are being led by material consciousness. But as soon as we transfer all consciousness to Krishna's activities and realize that Krishna is everything, then we attain real knowledge. In other words, knowledge is nothing but the preliminary stage of understanding devotional service perfectly. In the 15th chapter, this will be very clearly explained. So Prabhupada starts off by explaining what is Vijnana. Vijnana means near realized knowledge. And he says that this knowledge is of three things: the knower, the knowable, and the process of knowing. Combined, these are called Vijnan, or the science of knowledge. And Srila Prabhupada will give a beautiful summary of these three facets in the next stanza of the purport. Then Srila Prabhupada goes on to say something quite interesting. He says that, in other words, knowledge is nothing but the preliminary study of understanding devotional service perfectly. In other words, knowledge is nothing but the preliminary stage of understanding devotional service perfectly. Now, who in their own words would like to maybe make an attempt to explain this? Knowledge is nothing but the preliminary stage of understanding devotional service perfectly. Anyone would, in their own words, would like to give their understanding of that statement? Firstly, it's a preliminary stage. Yes. So who was liking to say something?
I was just going to say my understanding of what you said, Prabhuji.
Yeah, sure.
So it's basically knowledge forms the foundation of moving towards the process of devotional service. Does that make sense? Is that what you meant?
Mm-hmm. So Prabhupada is a preliminary stage, but go on. Carry on explaining, Mataji.
So it's basically the foundation. It lays out the foundation for you to start stepping into the process of devotional service. The knowledge does.
And once we've stepped into devotional service, what's the relevance of knowledge?
Then the application of knowledge is important, isn't it? Then you understand devotional service in more detail, in more kind of with evidence-based, basically, evidence-based.
That's a nice explanation. Anyone else would like to give their understanding of that statement?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I was
Hare
thinking
Krishna.
that knowledge is when you first realize your relationship with Krishna, that you're his eternal servant, and then you understand the importance of devotional service.
So, Jai Shri Mataji, would you say knowledge we need knowledge before we can enter bhakti?
We need some knowledge, I think.
Okay, that's a nice
some
answer.
realization of our relationship with Krishna.
Yes, that's a very nice answer. Thank you, Jai Shri Mataji. Anyone else has got any comments or points they'd like to add?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Ajay Mukunda Prabhu.
My understanding is that all the knowledge we get, it's a prelude to reaching the Brahma Buddha platform. That's when pure devotional service begins. So up until then, it's just trying to understand what devotional service is. Anya Pilashita Sunyam. So karma and jnana drops off. So they are just the tools to reach us to that stage. That's my understanding.
Okay, that's a nice understanding. Nice point of view. Thank you for that, Ajay Mukunda. Anyone else? I was thinking someone else wanted to give their viewpoint.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Devkishan.
I'd just like to say, I think in my opinion, I think it is possible if you are genuinely pure and your intentions are pure. I believe that Krishna would give you the guidance to perform the bhakti and direct you in the right ways, and from and through that direction, you'd receive knowledge, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, that's true, Devkishan. That's a very good point. That one cannot be knowledgeable, but if one is sincere, that Krishna will enlighten one. That's a good point. Anyone else likes to give the understanding?
Is the knowledge, Prabhuji, is to know the body and soul?
That's a good point, Mataji. Yes, to know the difference between body and soul.
Yes.
Prabhupada, in one purport of the Bhagavad Gita, he asked the question, when we speak about knowledge, what do we mean? And Prabhupada says, we mean spiritual understanding. Like in these verses we read here, Krishna has defined what is knowledge. And he says everything outside of this is ignorance. Isn't it?
Yes.
So Krishna says spiritual understanding. So yes, Mataji, you said quite nicely that understanding the difference between body and soul.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So I just want to make a few points, mainly referring to Srila Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the Nectar of Devotion, where Srila Rupa Goswami goes to great lengths to explain in chapter 14 of the Nectar of Devotion that Bhakti is independent of Gyan and Vairagya. Gyan means knowledge and Vairagya means detachment. So Rupa Goswami in his previous chapters has explained the various angas or limbs of Bhakti. And he lists 64 limbs of Bhakti or sadhana Bhakti or regulative devotional service. But he does not mention Gyan and Vairagya, knowledge and detachment, as any of the angas of Bhakti. And in the 14th chapter, he sets out why he does not list Gyan, knowledge, and Vairagya has to be the main angas of bhakti. And in text 248 of chapter 2 of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami writes, Gyan and Vairagya are suitable for entering bhakti, being somewhat useful in the beginning of bhakti, but they are not considered angas of bhakti. And then one of our acharyas, Srila Jiva Goswami, goes on to give a commentary to this particular verse. And Jiva Goswami explains that Gyan and Vairagya, they are somewhat useful only in the beginning of bhakti. That means they are suitable only at the stage of giving up attachment to other objects. When attachments have been given up and a person begins practicing bhakti, Gyan and Vairagya become insignificant. Also, after beginning bhakti, thinking of these processes will also distract a person from bhakti. Thus, they are only useful in the very beginning of bhakti. So I'll read a bit more from the Waves of Devotion. This is an explanation of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and we'll have a brief discussion. So Gyan and Vairagya, knowledge and cultivation of knowledge and cultivation of detachment, may preliminarily help a new devotee to focus on Krishna by freeing him from distraction to sense objects. However, in practicing Gyan and Vairagya, one's mind is not directly fixed on Krishna. It is absorbed in philosophical discrimination between matter and spirit. Fixing the mind on Krishna is the most essential part of sadhana. Since Gyan and Vairagya fail to do so, they are not items of sadhana bhakti. So I'll just briefly explain what is being said here. So Gyan means absorption in the philosophical discrimination between matter and spirit. So this distinction between matter and spirit through the process of Gyan, it requires a lot of focus, analytical study, analytical separation. And what this means that while you're doing all of this analytical separation and analysis and considerations, one is not able to give focus on fixing one's mind on Krishna. And the same way with detachment, Vairagya. Sometimes, like detachment, just a simple example, some of us sometimes we decide that we want to fast for a particular day, and we're thinking fasting is very good. But sometimes we get so caught up in the whole aspect of fasting. Oh, I'm feeling weak. Just drink water. What time will 6 o'clock come when I break my fast? We become so absorbed in the austerity and the detachment that we forget the goal, which we're trying to fix our minds on Krishna. So Rupa Goswami then goes on further to say that actually the cultivation of Gyan and Vairagya actually becomes detrimental to the cultivation of knowledge. And he explains why. He says that cultivation of Gyan and Vairagya, it makes one's heart harder and harder. And a materially attached person has many emotions that impel him towards sense gratification. Vairagya involves making the heart callous and indifferent to these emotions so that one will not be moved again by them. So Gyan and Vairagya, they are like helps us a stepping stone to become detached from matter. But the goal is to fix one's mind on Krishna. And once one is able to take to the process of bhakti, and one is better able to fix one's mind on Krishna, then automatically, simply by engagement in the process of bhakti, one automatically gets knowledge and detachment. Simply by experiencing the higher taste of bhakti, detachment becomes automatic. Just like Dhruva Maharaj, he wanted the kingdom. He was so insulted by his father Uttanapad that he wanted the kingdom. But then, by the mercy of the instructions of Narad Muni, he was able to meditate and he got darshan of the Lord. And once he got darshan of the Lord, and the Lord asked him, "What do you want?" Then Dhruva admitted, he said, "I was actually looking for broken glass, but now I have found a diamond." So he experienced the higher taste of the association of the Lord. And then automatically, all lower taste, all lower aspirations were lost. So once enters bhakti, Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Jnana Atu Asuvairagyam Jnanam Chayat Ahaitukam. That automatically detachment and knowledge come to one who is already been practicing devotional service. And bhakti by nature, it's opposite to Gyan and Vairagya, where Gyan and Vairagya makes one's heart hard. Bhakti by nature makes one's heart soft. And Krishna only wants to enter a soft heart, not a hard heart. And Rupa Goswami says, because Gyan and Vairagya generally make the heart harsh, the authoritative devotees have concluded that bhakti alone, whose nature is very tender, is the cause of entering into bhakti. Bhakti gives one bhakti. Gyan and Vairagya does not. So we'll continue the purport. Now to summarize, one may understand that verses 6 and 7, beginning from Mahabhutani and continuing towards Chetana Dhritihi, analyze the material elements and certain manifestations of the symptoms of life. They combine to form the body or the field of activities. We've discussed this at length. The body is the field of activities. And verse 8 through 12 from Amanitvam through Tattva Jnanartha Darshanam describe the process of knowledge for understanding both types of the knower of the fields. So we discussed there's two knowers, the individual soul and the super soul, namely the soul and the super soul. Then verses 13 to 18, beginning from Anadi Matparam and continuing towards Hriddhi Sarvasya Vishtitam, describe the soul and the Supreme Lord or the super soul. Thus, three items have been described: the field of activity, which is the body, the process of understanding, and both the soul and the super soul. It is especially described here that only the unalloyed devotees of the Lord can understand these three items clearly. So for these devotees, Bhagavad Gita is fully useful. It is they who can attain the supreme goal, the nature of the Supreme Lord Krishna. In other words, only devotees and no others can understand Bhagavad Gita and derive the desired result. So again, some very interesting statements here. And this is obviously said by Krishna himself in the verses. In the verse, only devotees and not others can understand Bhagavad Gita and derive the desired result. So there's two aspects of this statement I just want to analyze a bit more. Firstly, why is it only devotees can understand? And secondly, what is the proof that only devotees understand Bhagavad Gita? I just want to dissect the statement into two important aspects. Why is it only devotees can understand Bhagavad Gita? And secondly, what is the proof that only devotees understand Bhagavad Gita? So Srila Prabhupada explains very clearly, it is only devotees that can understand. It is because it is only devotees that follow the parampara. Once Srila Prabhupada was invited by a famous industrialist of the Bajaj family. His name was Ram Krishna Bajaj. He wanted Srila Prabhupada to come and speak in a Gita Foundation conference. Firstly, Srila Prabhupada was not very keen to go because his experience was that this conference is only attended by speculators. No one who really understands Bhagavad Gita. And Srila Prabhupada, after much insistence of Mr. Bajaj, he went and attended. And when he attended this function, he noticed, as he had expected, that many of them were talking about Bhagavad Gita, but it was all speculation. It was all speculation. And Srila Prabhupada made a point in that conversation. The only people who can understand Bhagavad Gita are those that come in parampara. That means those that come in an unbroken chain of disciplic succession in one of the 4 authorized paramparas, lineages. Only they can understand. So sometimes when you hear some people speaking Bhagavad Gita or someone promoting Bhagavad Gita, if you want to have certainty that the message you're receiving from that person has merits, it's genuine, and can help you on your spiritual journey, the first thing you need to understand or inquire is, this so-called Swami, which parampara is he coming in? And if he is not coming in any bona fide parampara, that means one of the 4 bona fide Vaishnav Sampradayas, then we reject him. And secondly, the meaning of Bhagavad Gita, as Krishna explains, Raja Vidya, Raja Guyam, that this Bhagavad Gita is a secret. And this secret has to be revealed to one. Just like if you hear there is some secret and you want to get access to that secret, you can speculate and you can think and you can do so many things, but unless that secret is revealed to you, you will never know what the secret is. So in the same way, this meaning of Bhagavad Gita, it is only revealed when Krishna becomes pleased with the devotee. And when Krishna is pleased with the devotee, he reveals the inner meaning of his words, both from within as the supersoul and from without as his representative. For all other people, the meaning remains concealed. They can never know. They can never understand Bhagavad Gita. And what is the proof that only devotees understand Bhagavad Gita? There's one very simple proof. Just like, say, suppose, to give you an analogy, you see a man walking in the middle of the road. And you go to him and you say, sir, this road, vehicles come, and some of them quite fast. And if you stand in the middle of the road, there's a great possibility that you could get knocked and become severely injured. And the man says, thank you very much. Thank you. I really appreciate what you're telling me. And then he carries on walking in the middle of the road. And then you go to him and you say, sir, cars are coming here. You're going to get hurt. This is not good for you. And he says, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Do you think that man has understood what you've told him? No. He's not understood because he hasn't taken the appropriate action. The symptoms that he's understood has not been displayed. So same way, the proof of understanding Bhagavad Gita is surrender. Surrender to Krishna. Someone can say till they blue in the face how well they know Bhagavad Gita, how much they can recite Bhagavad Gita. They can sit in big sanghas and talk about Bhagavad Gita. But if they have not surrendered to Krishna, they have not, as Prabhupada says in the purport, accepted Krishna as everything in their lives, it means they have not understood Bhagavad Gita. They have not understood Bhagavad Gita. One further practical proof is that before Srila Prabhupada went to the West, there were many Swamis from India that went to the West. And many of them had spoken from the Bhagavad Gita. But hardly one Krishna Bhakta was made by any of these Swamis. But when Srila Prabhupada went and he presented Bhagavad Gita, hundreds and thousands of people, even from Malecha backgrounds, became Krishna Bhaktas and they surrendered to Krishna. So there's one very simple litmus test we can apply to one who has understood Bhagavad Gita, and that is one who has understood Bhagavad Gita surrenders to Krishna, has surrendered to Krishna. In December 1970, Srila Prabhupada traveled to Indore. Indore is a city of about, well, that was then 475,000 people, it's probably more. And it's about 13 hours northeast of Bombay. So the directors of a huge festival called the Gita Jayanti Mahotsava, a festival to celebrate the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, was being held. And Srila Prabhupada, being one of the foremost proponents of Bhagavad Gita, he was invited with his disciples to attend the convention and to speak. So what these organizers had done, they had arranged for many speakers, mostly Mayavadis. And they made Srila Prabhupada the last speaker on every night. Because they knew that everyone or most of the people who had come, they had come to hear Srila Prabhupada and to see Srila Prabhupada's dancing white elephants. He's American and European disciples. So they would make Srila Prabhupada the last speaker. And Srila Prabhupada and his disciples would have to sit laboriously listening to these speculators, these Mayavadis, these so-called sadhus who had never surrendered to Krishna completely, speak. And this was very painful for Srila Prabhupada. And when it was Srila Prabhupada's turn to speak, he began by explaining that in the West, he was spreading the teachings of Bhagavad Gita as it is. And he said Bhagavad Gita could be properly understood only by one in disciplic succession, just as Arjuna, the original student of the Bhagavad Gita, had understood it. Gita was for the devotee of Krishna and should not be misinterpreted by non-devotees. To misinterpret the Gita, he said, was to cheat in the name of religion. He also spoke out strongly against pseudo-religionists. And the organizers were pleased by Prabhupada's performance. And the next day they came to his bungalow and Prabhupada complained of having to wait so long before he could speak. And he said it was unfair to make his disciples sit through hours of speeches in language they couldn't understand. And when Srila Prabhupada imitated that the speeches seriously deviated from the teachings of the Gita, the director of Gita Bhavan replied, "We do not favor any particular way. Followers of the Sankara school and others also come to our institution. We do not subscribe wholly that Krishna is the sole God or anything of the sort. There is a power behind him." And this remark drew fire from Srila Prabhupada. I mean, what kind of glorification of the Gita was this if the speakers did not accept Krishna as is explained in the Gita? The Gita declares Krishna to be the highest truth. Mataha parantaram nanyat. Srila Prabhupada advised the directors of the Gita Bhavan to try to understand the meaning of Bhagavad Gita. The directors did not change their opinion, but they were intelligent enough to see that Prabhupada was a great Pandit and saint. And again, they met Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada, tried to convince them otherwise, that Krishna was not an historical personality, and that one should understand Bhagavad Gita as it is in Parampara, and thus become a devotee of Krishna. And Prabhupada said this was the degradation of Indian culture. He said, "Sorry, I'm very sorry to inform you that in your city I've seen 2 temples. They are known as Ram Mandir, but there is no Ram. There is cheating going on and you are accepting. There is no Ram deity worship, but a man's photo is there, one Ram Baba. And people are so foolish that they do not question why this is going on. In Indore, I have been to the Gita Bhavan, and so many nonsense things are there. Another place I saw Gita Samiti, and there was not a single photo of Krishna, but a lamp is there. And this is the name of Dharma." And Prabhupada is saying there was this huge Gita festival. Everyone talking about Gita, but not a single picture of Krishna. All you could see was a lamp in the center of the stage. And Prabhupada said in one letter to Mr. Jugal Kishore Birla, one who does not accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is unable to understand the Bhagavad Gita. So if someone does not accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrender to Krishna, they will never understand what is Bhagavad Gita. It is only the devotees. And devotee means I accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I surrender completely to Krishna and no one else. Only such a person can understand Bhagavad Gita. So I'll stop here. I'll take any questions, comments, or reflections that anyone may have. Hare Krishna. So everyone is convinced. Would anyone like to add their realizations on this statement by Krishna and Srila Prabhupada that only devotees and not others can understand Bhagavad Gita and derive the desired result? Are we all convinced of this? Or do we also think that there are other people who can understand Bhagavad Gita?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
So in terms of parampara and surrender,
Yes.
for understanding Bhagavad Gita, how does that then correlate with book distribution?
Can you expand on your question, Mataji?
We distribute books, we
Yes.
distribute Bhagavad Gitas quite widely.
Yes.
We don't see criteria in terms of surrender and parampara.
Okay.
So how do then people, when they pick up the Bhagavad Gita, there must be something that they have, which they open the book and they start reading. Would they not then understand it properly the way it should be?
Yes, absolutely. So if you meet a person on the street and you tell them this is transcendental knowledge given by Krishna, this is Bhagavad Gita as it is, please take this book. So this person goes and he reads this Bhagavad Gita. This Bhagavad Gita is coming in parampara. It's given by Srila Prabhupada. So
Yes.
firstly, they are getting the Bhagavad Gita in parampara. That's the first criteria.
Yes.
Secondly, after reading the Bhagavad Gita, if someone comes to the conclusion, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the purpose of Bhagavad Gita, the final conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, the final teaching of Bhagavad Gita is that one should surrender to Krishna.
Right.
And if a person does that, then from that point beyond, that person will understand Bhagavad Gita. But if someone may pick up this book and says, no, I do not accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and neither do I feel there's a need for me to surrender to Krishna. I will try to understand it through my own means. I won't even look at the purports, I'll only look at the verse. Then that will remain Guyam, secret. You will not understand the words.
Yes. 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 So parampara and surrender is not prerequisite to receiving or reading the Bhagavad Gita. Part and parcel of, yes, I understand now. So that's helpful, very helpful actually.
Hare Krishna.
Distributing. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Kusham Mataji.
Do we not say that if someone has the Bhagavad Gita, even if it is just sitting on the shelf, it's the vibrations that will ultimately make a change to that person's life? Just to elaborate on that thing, I can tell from my own personal experience. I must have got the Bhagavad Gita at least 20 years ago. One devotee must be on this book distribution, gave it to me. I was busy in my life. The Bhagavad Gita just sat on the bookshelf. For about 10 years, I did not even open one single page. Till the right time came, and then Krishna brought me on the right path. And then when I opened it, I'm like, oh my God, all the questions I've asked, the answers are here. I could then understand. But I am thinking, maybe the fact that the book was present in the house must have created some positive vibrations in the mind. So when we go for book distribution, even though some people may take the book, even if they are not reading it, I think even if they keep that Bhagavad Gita in their house, one day Krishna will show them the way. That's my understanding. Hare Krishna.
I can't disagree with you, Mataji. In fact, I can only agree with you because Bhagavad Gita is non-different from Krishna.
Yeah.
And, there's a science called Vastu. The science of Vastu says every object emits a certain type of energy. And sometimes the way you place this object, it has a certain impact on you. So this Bhagavad Gita, it carries the energy of Sri Krishna.
Yeah.
It has the Vastu, the energy of Sri Krishna. So anyone having Bhagavad Gita in their house, certainly they are getting very positive energies coming from the Bhagavad Gita. And it can only have a positive impact on their life and consciousness.
Yes, that's from my personal experience, I can say that does happen.
Yeah. But the important thing is when you picked up that book, Bhagavad Gita, and you read it, there would have come a point during that journey where you would have said, I accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I accept that I need to surrender to Krishna. And it is from that two states of consciousness that the understanding of Bhagavad Gita becomes revealed.
Yes, I'm sure. When that happens in the mind, that's when you start relishing reading the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, because Krishna starts to reveal it. The relishment comes from the revelation. Otherwise, it remains dry, for some people. They can't get it.
Yeah. And when that attraction to Krishna comes and you start relishing it, the attachment to material things just disappears from your life.
Yes.
Things that I used to do previously in my life, I mean, now when I look back, how did I even enjoy those things? But at that point, that's how what I was doing. And now those things have no attraction at all.
That's you just emphasized one of the points we were making. That from bhakti, gyan and vairagya come automatically. You know, we automatically just by the process of purification of the heart, one starts to lose taste for the lower things as one appreciates the taste for the messages of the Lord. Thank you for that sharing those realizations in your personal life, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else would like to share any realizations, thoughts, or has any questions? Now, let me look at the chat if there's any questions or comments. Hare Krishna. So we have Divya Gaurangi Mataji has given a reflection. Understanding that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and complete surrender to Him is understanding Bhagavad Gita. Thank you very much. Surrender and detachment. Rasastali, Rasalila Mataji, Hare Krishna, Emma Mataji. You've got that realization from book distribution. And Divya Gaurangi Mataji writes, surrender means one has to become confident. Devotee thinks that Krishna will surely protect me and give help for the successful execution of devotional service. Avasya Rakshibe Krishna. Yes, certainly, Divya Gaurangi Mataji. Definitely. Anna is sharing some realization. I could feel the energy of the book Bhagavad Gita as I brought it and I was carrying it home. Before I read it, I already knew it was blissful energy. Wow, that's amazing, Anna. That you could feel the power and the potency of Bhagavad Gita just by touching it. So wonderful. Thank you for sharing those comments on the chat. And it's 8:45 now, so we'll stop here. Thank you very much, everyone, for your participation. I'm always amazed how day after day, so sincerely, so regularly, you all come to this chat session and you participate. You know, we have so many things that can draw us away from studying the Bhagavad Gita. And as Krishna says, one who studies the Bhagavad Gita worships me with his intelligence. So what we are doing is actually worshipping Krishna with our intelligence by coming together daily and reading and studying and discussing this Bhagavad Gita. So thank you very much. All glories to all of yours wonderful service. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Thank you.